If you're starting your own small business or nonprofit, congratulations. But whatever you do, don't make this mistake. Hi, I'm Mark from Valor Excel, where our goal is to help you do smart work. If you're starting your own small business or nonprofit, it can be an incredibly exciting time. But let's face it, there are a million things to think of. You're trying to figure out all the little nuts and bolts that go together to create daily operations for bringing whatever your dream is into reality. If you've started off as a sole proprietor, that really is a whole different world. When you're doing things by yourself, you are your own boss and your own employee. You end up having to be the chief cook and bottle washer, the jack of all trades, and that's perfectly fine because it's just you. But things get a lot more complicated when our businesses start to grow. And the mistake I'd like to talk about today is something that I think gets overlooked by many owners of businesses and nonprofits. When they get started, they're so caught up in the vision of what they're trying to accomplish that this does seem to sort of slip through the cracks. And the interesting thing is, you can overlook the fact that this mistake is even occurring. And once the mistake has occurred, you find yourself in a really difficult position because now, despite your best efforts, something is slowly unraveling in the background and you aren't even aware of it. And when I tell you what the mistake is, you might be surprised. It's probably not what you think. It's not something like starting a business without enough investment capital or not properly defining the goals of whatever your project is. Those things are critically important, but that's only a small piece of the puzzle. And the big mistake that a lot of times I see happen is something that's easily avoidable. The most amazing thing is it's a mistake that doesn't cost a single cent to correct. And your best bet is to prevent the mistake from ever happening. But unfortunately, I think so many businesses aren't even aware that the mistake is taking place. Now, in my professional career, I've worked for almost 30 years in large corporations. I've worked for over 8 years in the small business and nonprofit world, and I've done things completely on my own. So I've seen this from all different perspectives. It certainly is something that can affect all three of those environments, but I think it's especially crucial for those folks who are developing small businesses and nonprofits. Now, once you start moving from sole proprietorship into working with others, it's an exciting time. It's a time when you can bring people who have skills, talents, and abilities that you might not have into the realm of whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And once you begin to build that staff, that team, that's where the mistake can occur. Now, this will happen whether or not it's paid staff, volunteers, or even interns. It's not so much the official designation of whatever the people are doing. It's much more so a case of the fact that you are now working with other people. And I'll go ahead and tell you what the mistake is. The mistake is building your business on people. Now, that really is counterintuitive. We have so many cute little catchphrases. There's no I in team. We're all in this together. It takes a village. We've all heard those things. And believe me, I'm not knocking working with other people. If you want real business success, it's crucial to align yourself with other people who have similar goals and a similar mindset. And again, you don't have to all have the same talents and abilities because you want to be able to bring people together who have different skills so that you have a lot of power in your toolbox. But what ends up happening sometimes is that business owners start relying on people as the foundation for the business rather than the knowledge that the people possess. And why I think that's the biggest mistake made by small business and nonprofit owners is because what will eventually occur is there will be a day that for whatever circumstance, that person is no longer there. If you rely on someone day in and day out, let's face it, you get used to the fact that they know their job, that they do it well, and that they bring all their expertise into play. So if that person is suddenly gone for a short term or for a long term or permanently, it can completely upend your business. Many business owners don't think in those terms. As we bring people in and we start to grow and we start to do more things, we lose focus on the fact that we need to still make sure that we all understand the components of what we're doing. We take for granted the fact that we have skilled employees, other people that we're collaborating with. And so as their jobs grow and as things develop, we can find ourselves in a situation where everybody is walking around with tremendous head knowledge that can disappear in an instant if that head is no longer here. And what I'm talking about goes way beyond just writing up job descriptions. That's a good start. But the truth is, every small business and nonprofit needs to meticulously document how they do everything. I know that can sound like a real pain, but it has so many benefits. First of all, it can be a real eye-opener, particularly for the owner of the business or whoever's in charge of the organization, to get a really good insight into what's required in every single one of those jobs. We can sometimes have a cursory understanding of what a job function is, but until you really interact with the people that carry those tasks out on a daily basis, you'll never fully understand what's required to bring about whatever the purpose of that particular job function is. The other benefit of being able to really document what you do is that you now have the ability to easily train new staff or new volunteers. This is something I know can be an amazing struggle for nonprofits. Many nonprofits rely heavily on volunteers, and as a result, there's a very high turnover of people coming and going. And there's nothing more annoying and draining than having to try to train volunteers when you're not really 100% sure what the people who came before them are doing. When you meticulously document the processes of your organization, then you can relay that information to any new group of people. And that can also apply to new hires, to interns that come in, to anybody who is now integrated into the fabric of your core group. Once you have documentation in place, now you have the ability to clearly explain exactly what you're doing to anyone who's trying to learn a job task. One of the other areas where this can really come into play is if you are a nonprofit that relies on grants and donations for your funding. Many times, outside entities willing to donate money to your organization want to have a really clear picture of why you do what you do and how you do what you do. And when you document your processes, you can provide something to an outsider to give them at least a basic understanding of why it takes 4 people to do this job, or why you want to hire new people to tackle some project that you haven't stepped into yet. Without documentation, you find yourself in the unenviable position of having to try to explain off the top of your head. That can make you sound extremely unprofessional, and it's never a compelling argument for additional funding for whatever your mission is. The other critical reason why you should always document how every task in your organization is done is because your organization hopefully will grow. It will morph. It will turn into something completely different than it was when you first started it. And every new person that you bring into your organization brings new skills and talents and abilities with them. And one of the other things that can happen is people who stay in a job function for a long time can, through their own commitment to how well they do that job, cause the job to grow in ways that might be completely invisible to everyone around them, especially to the owner or director of the business. This happened to me in many situations. Throughout my working life, I've tended to stay in positions for a very long time. And in almost every case, I saw those job functions grow up around me. Whatever was in my original job description was pretty much meaningless 2 years down the way, because I saw the job grow as I recognized that there were additional things that were required to make the job happen on a daily basis. They weren't something that the person who created the position ever even thought of, but as I worked through it day to day and had to hammer out all the details of making things happen, I knew that sometimes there was a lot more to it than what was on my original job description. And the other important thing with documentation is it can never be static. It has to be dynamic. You have to go back and periodically revisit it, particularly with the people carrying out the job functions. That way you can get a clear understanding of what's changed. Have they taken on new responsibilities? Are there things that they've needed to modify within the job so that they can actually get the task completed in the time frame that you need them to. If you overlook these things, you're setting yourself up for disaster, because inevitably there will be a day when somebody is no longer there. And if all the information that it took to do their job was in their head, you have nothing to go back to. Now, if this seems overwhelming to you, don't worry, because at Valor XL, one of the main goals that we have is to help you kind of disseminate all of the complexity of your business. When you look at the totality of what you're trying to do, it can be completely overwhelming. But remember, you can break everything down into bite-sized pieces. And by doing that, you can really understand the health of what you're already doing and how to move forward in a way that will let you grow and mature into an even larger enterprise, accomplishing greater goals and moving even closer to the vision that caused you to start your business or nonprofit in the first place. And so to help you on that journey, we'd like to offer you a great tool that can help you to self-assess what the health of your business is right now. It can be a real eye-opener. How prepared are you? Are you laying a really good, solid foundation? If your business has been in place for a while, did you do everything the way that you should have up front? Or do you find yourself in a situation now where you're having to make a lot of course correction? Click on the link in the description below to download a free PDF called Taking Your Organization's Temperature. It'll take you less than 10 minutes to complete, and it can offer you a tremendous insight to where you are and where you need to be heading. It's basically comprised of 30 statements about your organization, and depending on how you answer, you'll find out whether or not the approach you take is inactive, reactive, or proactive. Click on the link below, download the PDF, and start on the journey of really unraveling the big picture of how you got to where you are now and where you want to go in the days to come. Thanks for joining me today. Please like this video if you found it beneficial, and let me know in the comments below if you think there are other significant problems for small businesses and nonprofits that you'd like us to discuss in future installments. Thanks a lot for joining me today. Please come back again next time, and let us at Valor XL give you all we can to help you do smart work.